In this video, we will look at chip seal in more detail. A chip seal has rock chips embedded in the bitumen binder. Chip seals are also known as sprayed seals or surface dressings. They may be used in first coat seals or in reseals. The chip is crushed rock that has been screed so that all the chip particles are roughly the same size. That it is uniformly graded. The chip has to be roughly cuboid in shape. That is, the chip cannot have long, thin shapes. Chip sealing starts with laying the binder, which is usually a cutback bitumen or an emulsion, over the surface to be sealed. When the chips are laid, they are rolled. The rolling results in the chips moving over onto their long sides. This causes the chip layer to lock together during rolling. One of the main functions of a surfacing is to provide a safe running surface, which means it needs to provide good traction between the road and the vehicle tyres. This is often called skid resistance, as is the traction that prevents the vehicle skidding. The skid resistance is due to both macro texture and micro texture of the road. The macro texture is the road surface texture and is provided by the chip seal surface. This is shown as a red dotted line on this illustration. The macro texture also needs to be coarse enough to allow grip even when the road is wet. So the chip surface needs to be high enough off the seal to allow water draining off the road to do so between the chips, as shown in the blue shaded area above. The micro texture is the surface of the chips themselves and is not so easily seen without a microscope, although you can feel it when you rub the chip. This is shown as the green line on the illustration. This microtexture is important as it affects the grip of the tyres on the chip. Tyres will not grip well if the chip surface is smooth and polished, even if there is a coarse macrotexture. The microtexture can degrade over time as repetitive contact with the tyres erode and polish the surface. Therefore, the chip needs to be produced from a very hard rock that will not erode. There are different types of chip seals. Single coat chip seals have one coat of binder with one layer of one grade of chip. This is the lowest cost chip seal and is used for low traffic loadings. A two-coat seal has two layers of seal being applied in the same operation. The binder is laid at about 60% of the single coat rate and a layer of coarse chip applied at a lower rate than would be used for a single coat. This results in there being gaps between the chip. The remaining depth of binder is then laid and a layer of smaller chip applied at a rate that allows the smaller chip to wedge down into the gaps between the coarser chip and form an interlocking layer of chip, as shown in the illustration in the middle. The surface is then rolled to lock up both layers. A two-coat chip seal provides more resistance against road loadings, so it is used in areas where there are high traffic loadings and such as on steep hills and tight corners. The finer chip surface also results in a finer macro structure, which means a smoother ride, less rolling resistance and less noise, but also more skid resistance. The two-coat chip seal costs more than a single coat chip seal, obviously. Another disadvantage is that it can create more loose chip after sealing, as the top layer of chip is not as firmly anchored in the binder as it is with the single coat seal. Therefore, regular sweeping is required for several months after the seal has been laid. A variation on the two-coat seal is to have all of the binder applied in one application before placing a sparse layer of coarse chip. The fine chip is then placed without additional binder. Compaction using steel rollers and pneumatic tire rollers pushes the fine chip into the spaces between the coarse chip and locks up the surface. This option is called a racked-in chip seal. A racked-in chip seal is also able to resist high traffic loads but has the advantage of shedding less chip after laying. This makes it a good option for sealing residential and high-speed roads where loose chip can create a hazard. Its surface is similar to that of a single coat seal, so it is rougher. There are other chip seals such as void fills, sandwich seals, wet lock seals, and dry lock seals, stress absorbing membrane or SAM seals, cape seals, and slurry seals that are only used in reseals applied as part of the road maintenance. These will be looked at in another course focusing on road maintenance. If you're interested in learning more about these additional chip seal designs, then I suggest you read Chapter 3 of Chip Sealing in New Zealand. The link to this book is in the resources section of Moodle. Chip sealing requires the binder to be sprayed over the road surface. This requires the binder to have low viscosity in order to be able to be pumped and sprayed. This viscosity is achieved by a combination of heating and the addition of kerosene if a cutback bitumen is used, or by the use of bitumen emulsions. Both methods result in a bitumen layer that provides the adhesion, waterproofing, and strength requirements of the surface. Additives such as fluxing agents and adhesion agents and polymers may be added to the bitumen to improve the binder properties, as discussed in the bitumen topic.